I'm Tash Marie, the creator and owner of Seep. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Don't forget to go ahead and like and subscribe down below. It's been long awaited. Everybody wanted to know how I make my sugar scrub base, and today I'm gonna give that to you. I have been away for a couple weeks because I found out I was pregnant, and that first trimester kicked my butt. But guess what? I'm back and you will be getting videos weekly. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. Along with those ingredients, we're also going to be using a preservative because this product is around water and we don't want any mold or any bacteria to get into it. And we're also going to be using glycerin, and glycerin is good to soften dry skin and absorb moisture from the air into the skin. So I use the double boiler method to make my base, and normally I use this big 16 quart double boiler, but today because I'm making such a smaller batch size, I'm going to use a 8 quart. And then I already have my water boiling right now, so once we get all the ingredients inside, we just go ahead and plop it on because it will take a while. It will take a while for everything to melt down. So I already have my pot on my scale. So the first thing I'm gonna put in is my water. And I want you all to be mindful. It may look like this is a lot of water, but the water will evaporate. Next is sodium cocoa sulfate. I got it in the noodles. It is a non-irritating gentle surfactant that is derived from natural coconut oil, giving it a natural conditioning properties that act as a foaming and cleansing agent. So this kind of gives it the bubbles, the foam that you have once everything is said and done. So our final ingredient for the first phase, which is phase 1, is Bubble Up, or cocoa methylpropylene betaine. I probably said that wrong, but I tried. So what this is it's also a mild surfactant from coconut oil that is used as a secondary foaming agent. So the first one helps with cleansing and foaming, and then this one also helps with foaming. So now that I got everything in here, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a quick stir just to try to combine some of these ingredients before I put it on the stove. And I actually have my stove on medium high, so just to get the water boiling. And then when you stir it, you will get bubbles, but as the cook goes on, the bubbles will go down. And if you want to help them go down more, you can spray the top of it with alcohol, but I don't find any issue with it until maybe 30 minutes in. You want to be able to see that everything is melted together and everything is clear. So the less bubbles, the better. So you all can see the texture is pretty thick. It's almost like at a gel consistency now, but once it melts together, it will thin out. And then once it thins out, I'm gonna put it to the side and just let it cool off before we add anything else to it, like the preservatives and the glycerin. While that is cooking, we're gonna go ahead and get our other ingredients together. The sugar, today we're gonna be making the cinnamon oatmeal sugar scrub, which is one of my best sellers. So I make 2 different sizes. I make a 4 ounce, which is actually 6 ounces in here, as well as an 8 ounce, which is 10 ounces in here. It'll focus. And then my sample pack. So that's the charcoal down there. So I'm actually making 100 ounces of my base, but I'm not going to be using all of that. That 100 ounces is going to last me a very long time because my ratio to sugar is about 10 to 13% of the base and the rest sugar. And even sometimes that is off because of how the thickness is. If I put in the fragrance oil might thin the base out a little bit, then I have to add more sugar, or vice versa. If I put the fragrance oil in and the base gets thicker, then it's less sugar. So we want to just play around with the percentages and add sugar in little by little until you get your perfect consistency. And then once everything is complete, you have your sugar, your oatmeal, and I also put cinnamon. It's really rich in antibiotics and has a lot of beneficial plant compounds in there for the skin. And it helps soothe the skin just as well as oatmeal. Right here, I'm spraying the top of the base with rubbing alcohol just to get rid of some of the bubbles. And as this has been about 40 minutes, everything is melting perfectly. We're going to give it another 20 minutes and then come back and look at it. This is after an hour. Everything has melted and it should be clear. Now that our base is completely cooked down, it's really hot, we are going to turn on our scale. I normally turn it, keep it on grams, and then I go ahead and pour this in. After pouring everything in here, I have 2,633 grams. I'm gonna take this off, just stir it a little bit, and I'm gonna set this aside to cool down. Once it's cooled, I'm going to add my glycerin and my preservative. The preservative that I have the temperature has to be under 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And right now, it is sitting at about 203. So we're just gonna give it a couple minutes. I'm gonna wait until it gets down to at least 160, 150, just so the heat doesn't burn off the. I just want to show you all. You See how liquid it is? It's going to be like this until it cools completely down to room temperature. While we're waiting for the base to cool down, I just want to show you all how easy it is to clean up. So essentially this is soap, and I just rinse it out with warm water. Once it's dried, then I go back with alcohol and wipe it out just to disinfect it. The base right now is about 140 degrees. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn my scale on. After getting the weight of the base after it's cooked is because that tells me how much glycerin and how much preservatives I would have to put in there. And it'll be 5.5% of glycerin and 0.5% of preservative. Now that that's in there, I'm gonna just give this a real good stir. Make sure everything is combined, and I don't know if you all can see, but it is getting a little cloudy. Again, once it cools down to room temperature, it's gonna be clear and look just like gel. It's been a couple hours and it is finally cooled down to room temperature, and I just want to show you all how thick it is. It's not as runny. It's time to put everything together. I'm gonna go ahead and measure out my gel, which is going to be about 117 grams. So it's not that much. So I have my gel, my fragrance, my coconut oil, and the sugar we put to the side. And then I have a empty bowl, and the reason is I'm not gonna put everything in there all at one time. So we're gonna start off with adding the fragrance oil to the gel. Still gel like this. Fragrance did not thin it out. Put it to the side. So in here I have about 900 grams. So I'm gonna start with about half of it. Little more than half of the gel consistency. And then I like to stir everything by hand, only because I can get the feel of how it's supposed to be. you all can see, the consistency is great. It's amazing. It's not too thick, but it's not super runny. So what I'm actually going to do is, with this extra sugar, I am going to put it in here. And to thin it out just a little bit, I am going to add some more of the base to it. I'm not going to add any more fragrance. I'm not going to add any more coconut oil. I'm just going to add the base, which is not going to need a whole bunch because this is not a whole bunch of sugar, just to keep it at this consistency that I have. So now that our sugar scrub is done, I'm going to go ahead and put them in my containers. I have a big container and a small container, and then afterwards I will show you all a demo. This is the finished product. It soothes, exfoliates, and moisturizes with a great lather and smell.